And we're live. Welcome to Hong Kong, and we at the peak here with a beautiful view. So my name is Matt, and I'm excited to show you the peak today. It's a stunning day today. So the peak gets its name from that mountain over there. That's the tallest part of Hong Kong Island. It's called Mount Austin, and it's about 552 meters or 1,811 feet. From this viewpoint, we can look out at some of the outlying islands. So there, if you can see, that's an island with those three towers sticking out. That's Llama Island, and those three towers come from a power station that's situated on Llama. Llama's a great island. They've got two ferries that you can go on. They go to each side of the island, and there's a beautiful flat walk that you can do from one side to the next. So a great way, day trip out of Hong Kong is to go to Llama Island. And then straight ahead, that is Cheung Chau. Now, Cheung Chau is the island I took you to last month. One of my favorite islands in Hong Kong. It's shaped like a dumbbell, and it's got a pirate cave, hiking on the one side. You can cycle around. There's no cars allowed on Cheung Chau, and some great local food, as well as a yearly bun festival where the locals have to climb a bun tower to see how many buns they can collect in a specific amount of time. We're gonna, hey Dahlia, let's take a walk. We're gonna go to the viewing point. This is the reason why people come to the peak, is for this view. On the peak, it's home to lots of animals and many birds and butterflies. And if you come during the early hours or the late hours, you're quite likely to see maybe some porcupines or even wild boars, along with a variety of snakes. So really lots of wildlife on this mountain. There's some beautiful hikes. In fact, if you wanted to, you could hike here to the peak, and my recommended route would be to take the escalators from Central, because that takes you already half the way, and then just walk the rest of the way. Or if you're like me, you could take the bus or the tram, and I'll be telling you about that tram in a second. Wow, we are so lucky today. Now this is very unusual for Hong Kong. There's almost no one here, and we have this view almost pretty much to ourselves. So the peak has always been a place that has attracted people for these stunning views. We are now overlooking Hong Kong, Victoria Harbour, and then Kowloon across the water. And in the 19th century, the peak attracted prominent European residents because of its panoramic views over the city. I mean, isn't it that exquisite? Now you can imagine in the 19th century we didn't have all these skyscrapers like it is today, but it really is spectacular and a really beautiful day. And also the great thing about the peak is the temperature. So Hong Kong right now, it's summer, it's very hot, but because the peak is located 500 meters above sea level, it's slightly cooler than the surrounding areas lower down. And so that's why people like to have their summer residences here at the peak, because you wouldn't have the heat that you would have down below. Now originally, if you were a resident here that lived on the peak, you would be pretty prominent or famous or really rich, and you would get literally people bring you up on a chair. But in 1888, they started the tram system, and that was to boost accessibility. And so between 1904 and 1930, the peak area was designated as a exclusive residential area, and so if you lived on the peak, you could take the tram up and down. And today, the peak remains was one of the most expensive residential areas in Hong Kong. Now, this is the premier tourist destination in Hong Kong, and so we've got some exclusive attractions that you can't find anywhere else. One of them being the Hong Kong Monopoly Museum, which we're going to walk through on our way down. Here it is. This is the first and right now the only Monopoly museum in the world, and it's a really fun and unique place to visit. And of course, all the monopolies around the world are uniquely adapted to the countries where they are played, and so this one is adapted for Hong Kong. And no surprise, the most expensive property in Monopoly is the Peak, where we are now. The dark blue. So this is the entrance. If you want to come to the Monopoly Dreams Museum, this is where you're going to come. We came here on Hago. Now I'm hoping to come again. So it's still very early in Hong Kong. It's just past 9 o'clock. And so Monopoly Dreams, the museum, is still closed. But if it was open, we would go through those doors. So we're now in a mall called the Peak Galleria, and I'm just going to turn around, and there you can see the Monopoly Dream sign. That's a great postcard moment. So when you usually you'll take the escalator up to the museum, and that's the first sight that greets you. So there's several restaurants here in at the Peak. And in fact, the Peak has the only Burger King in the whole of Hong Kong. There it is. And it's like never open. But one of the nicest restaurants is the Peak Lookout on our left-hand side here. And the Peak Lookout has a really interesting history because it's one of the older, more traditional buildings, and it was originally a spacious house for the engineers who worked on the tramway. And they've lovingly kept it up and restored it, and it's got beautiful views. You can sit, have your coffee, and get beautiful views from the Peak Lookout. So I like Hong Kong because it's the old with the new. You have the contrast of these brand new shopping centers and state-of-the-art buildings, but then you also have beautiful old buildings that are restored and kept up really nicely. So Neil's asking why is it not open, and that's because in Hong Kong everything usually opens at 10 a.m. and I'm here at 9 a.m. Even Burger King will open later. Now this is a local Hong Kong favorite. It's called an egg waffle, and you want it, when you order these, you want to have them hot. Now the normal way to have them is just a plain one with nothing on it, and you want to eat it hot. But then there's the Western way to, so this is your original Hong Kong egglet, that's the way we would eat it. But if you want a Western twist on the egglet, you would put some ice cream and cream inside, and use the egglet like a ice cream cone. And so this restaurant has some old TVs displaying one of Hong Kong's most famous exports. Bruce Lee. So we're going down now to Madame Tussauds. So here it is. Here's Madame Tussauds. Now the Hong Kong branch houses nearly 100 wax figures of internationally known personalities, one of which you're going to get a nice close-up of right now, Benedict Cumberbatch. But more than 1/3 of the total figures are from Asia, and 16 of those are Hong Kongers. Here comes the Peak Tram. That was very lucky timing. Yeah, we couldn't have asked for a better day today. Beautiful, clear day. We've got a sign of all the places you can go. We're going to head to the Lions Pavilion lookout. Okay, so this is the final place I wanted to show you here at the peak. It's the Lions Club of Tai Ping Shan. They've created a number of these pavilions all over Hong Kong, and they're beautiful viewpoints to see the city. Now this one's quite hidden away, and usually people don't come to this, so it's quite quiet, quite hidden away, but it's a great way to get spectacular views, and it's free. When I do the Peak Tram story, we'll go up to the Terrace 428. The 428 stands for 428 meters above sea level, and we'll do a separate story about that with the tram. And this is why people come to the peak, for this unbelievable view. It's just like breathtaking, and it's just, you can't really find this anywhere else in the world. We're so densely packed with this huge mountain, and the water is just amazing. So there you have it, the peak Hong Kong, with the most exquisite view, and we're just so lucky to be able to visit it today when it's so clear, when literally the whole week it's been storming, and so to have a day like today, that's a lot of luck during the rainy season. So from me in Hong Kong at the peak, hope you have an amazing weekend. Carry on exploring and adventuring, and I'll see you soon.